a member of today's Republican Party requires you to answer one simple question.
What is a woman? Then what is a woman? What exactly is a woman?
No, not that one. No one cares about that one anymore. No, the question is, who is really fucking up America? The Muslims? Or the Jews?
Marxism and Mohammedanism that come together to destroy the West.
We happen to come into an alliance because of our agreement about confronting the Jewish media.
Dearborn has essentially become an Arab state.
Money has been put behind these Judeo-Christian programs.
Are we really benefiting from importing Islamists into the West?
They come from Satan. They're from the mouth of Beelzebub himself.
I say no.
Jewish leaders of everything.
People are going to attack me. My primary care doctor is Muslim.
Jews couldn't even get the doctor role? God. Look, what is so striking to me is that the problem with American politics, the problem for Americans, it's not the Christian president we have now, or the Christian president we had before that, or the Christian president before that, or the 44 Christian presidents we had before them. No. It is the Jewish control of the Christian president. It is Mohammedanism weaving its tentacles onto Western shores. That is the squeaky wheel in the American experience. What's fascinating to me about this is that this division in and of itself would have been unthinkable within mainstream Republican politics 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, when the Republican Party was completely enraptured to the state of Israel and the idea of Judeo-Christian values as the foundation for our secular, supposedly, nation. And Islam was the primary threat, the war on terror, that has been the defining part of right-wing foreign policy for 2 decades now. But now, fear of Jews, dislike of Jews, distrust of Jews, anti-Semitism, in short, is becoming so increasingly prominent among mainstream elements of the right. They're circling around and becoming fans of the most extreme interpretation of Islam.
The old world, the old way of doing things.
Women don't drive, don't vote type of thing? Or
yeah, something like that. I mean, approximating like Saudi Arabia. I don't think they're too far off the mark.
And that is what we are talking about today. My name is Carly Riley. This is Carly P. Riley Show. I look what powerful people are doing and saying, and I dissect it, and we look at the headlines behind the headlines. And if you'd like to join me, we'd love to have you subscribe to the channel, comment below, or share this video if you get some value out of it. So look, this rising divide on the right was on display this week because of the news about the Israeli-Hamas ceasefire brokered by Trump and his team. Now, there's a lot to say on this topic, and we don't know yet what the future will hold, if this ceasefire will really hold, what the future for the region looks like. But there were some on the right who were skeptical of this deal.
Yeah, they have destroyed 85% of Gaza, and they're going to try to tell us that we've reached peace.
Is it just an attempt to give the Israelis kind of a breather?
I don't think the Israelis intend on having an enduring peace.
And then there were others on the right who, of course, weren't skeptical at all.
I think it just means peace for the Middle East. Nobody's ever seen anything quite like it.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Finally finding out that President Trump got this done.
It's done! Trump got it done! Peace in the Middle East. Lickety split, you know, his 9th war ended, baby. Forget the fact that we've had 2 previous ceasefires that didn't hold, but sure. And look, even a temporary ceasefire, return of the hostages, this is a huge win and a huge relief for the millions of people in the region for whom this was a devastating war, and of course, particularly for the Palestinians for who this was particularly devastating. But behind the headlines about the ceasefire itself is this broader, simmering question to me, which is, why now? Why did we finally get this done when it seems like American pressure could have gotten this done long ago?
This war caused a historic shift away from the Israeli position in the Middle East conflict and towards the Palestinians when it comes to who Americans and voters sympathize with.
Shifting American public opinion, yes. Across the board, Democrats, Independents, Republicans, this war has been devastating for the Israeli image here in America. It would be utterly naive to think that the rapidity with which American public opinion was changing on the question of Israel and the question of the Middle East had nothing to do with the calculus made by Trump, his surrogates, and even Bibi Netanyahu. And while this is a huge win, on the right in particular, this shift in public opinion is a bit of a mixed bag, as reflected by 2 other recent headlines that are obviously not going to get as much attention as the idea that Israel and Hamas have reached a peace agreement, but which nevertheless reflect an important dynamic to this entire conversation.
Congressman Dave Taylor says Capitol Police are investigating how a hate symbol ended up in his D.C. office.
What Politico published today shows the conservatives openly praising Adolf Hitler, making celebratory jokes about gas chambers and slavery and rape.
Yes, within the last week alone, you had a staff person for a congressman on a Zoom call with a swastika American flag in his background, and you had leaked text chats from the leaders of young Republican groups from multiple different states in which they said things like, I love Hitler. If they vote for us, why would they be gassed? And other comments about a Hitler aesthetic. Now look, young men like to be edgy. You know, they like edgy jokes, and also male group chats have never made any sense. If you're a woman or a male over the age of, I don't know, maybe 45, and you're unfamiliar with the cesspool that is the male group chat, this TikTok will help explain it.
Hey, you got a text from Seaman Gang.
Oh yeah, that's the group chat. Can you read it to me?
Okay, Rainbow Diddle said, "Who's driving tonight?" To which Cumyon
Oh yeah, that's Danny.
replied, "Oh my gosh, I'm not repeating that." Straight Max said, I volunteer as tribute." Gay Max replied, "Pause."
Can you text back and say I can fit 3 people in my car?
Okay. They're replying with slurs.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the girls group chat is like, the girls, or like wing women, and we're like, oh, you look so pretty in that latest chat, or like, how is the date? And it's all coherent and normal. And anyways, that's not the point. The point is that, yeah, fine. Male group chats are edgy and they say things that are off-colored and they're not expecting them to be leaked or blah, blah, blah. But this is not that. First of all, it's a professional group chat. It's not a bunch of buddies. And the degree to which they feel comfortable invoking Hitler, gas chambers, that kind of, to their words, aesthetic, lives in a very odd liminal space between actually just joking and hardened Nazism, which is what makes it a bit slippery. It's why J.D. Vance can come out and attack the liberal media for their pearl clutching over the private group chat messages, rather than really grappling with the fact that major elements of their own base and a rising number of elements of his own base feel very comfortable invoking Hitler in professional settings. And this is really the point that I'm trying to get at here. It's that things that were considered alt-right and fringe and weird, frankly, like 5-10 years ago, but which were allowed to seep in every so often, are now increasingly like kind of dominating the mindset and ever present in the way that many young male Republicans in particular are thinking and communicating. And it's being reflected in and coloring conservative politics in general. This whole movement, this whole, again, aesthetic, has grown out of the Groyperism movement, the alt-right movement that really started in 2016. It's this irony-coded form of far-right racism steeped in 4chan memery and language. But it does in fact represent, or at least point to, some very real beliefs underneath. And the most prominent symbol for Groyperism, in fact, the father of Groyperism as a term, of course not the father of alt-right racism, which has existed for forever, and also the man who is the nemesis to Charlie Kirk, the alt-right nemesis to Charlie Kirk, and who in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death has been rising in name ID and in prominence, is Nick Fuentes.
Jews are running society, women need to shut the fuck up, blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part, and we would live in paradise. It's that simple.
This charmer rose to prominence in 2016, when he was still just a teenager, as part of Donald Trump's first election cycle, where he became the sort of memified symbol for alt-right streamers. But then, after the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, where it got really taken over by a bunch of white supremacists and somebody happened to die, and Nick Fuentes was there and streaming live from it, well, he got deplatformed from just about everywhere, and the consensus seemed to be that the right-wing party was certainly not ready to have somebody like a Nick Fuentes be a prominent figure among their ranks. But now, in this current moment, where anti-Semitism is looking a little chicer to many on the right, Nick Fuentes is so back, baby, and he is making the rounds on increasingly mainstream podcasts.
Nicholas Fuentes. How are you, sir?
Nicholas J. Fuentes, welcome to Red Scare.
Nick Fuentes. Nick, it's great to see you.
Nick, what up?
Nick Fuentes, man.
I'll be talking to Nick Fuentes. Don't think I'm not self-conscious about not having a shirt on.
Russell Brand could also just put a shirt on. You know what I mean? It's his show. Literally, as they say. Anyway, the problem with Nick, as with so many of these people who have offensive views but are able to make them popular, he's very slippery. Again, there's this liminal space between where are you joking and where are you not? And they blur that boundary so successfully that they can always say, oh, I'm just joking, if you call them on anything too bad. It's irony, they'll say.
I'm an irony bro, that's all irony.
Even while they then say things that are not at all irony?
Simple yes or no answer. Hitler. Good guy, bad guy.
And isn't it ironic? Don't you think?
That's the top. Well, there are no good and bad guys. They're just people.
It's like rain.
Catholics do not believe that Jews are like awesome.
The good advice that you just didn't take.
Hey, Hitler's it's like 1984, you know, when they put the face on the TV and everybody's got to get all wound up. My show's a lot more focused on, you know, what you might call the Jewish question, which is what are we to do about this Jewish elite, these Jewish gangsters that run our Christian country?
And yeah, I really do think it's like rain.
Yeah, I don't share this histrionic Jewish view that Hitler is this exceptionally boogeyman, evil figure.
It is really this simple. We need white men in charge of everything again. That's the big picture, guys.
Irony. But this is the thing that is so crazy about this moment on the American right and how it ties into our foreign policy. Nick Fuentes is somebody who is not masking his anti-Semitism behind anti-Zionism or anti-Israel. There are 1,000,001 unbelievably valid criticisms of Israel and America's policy vis-a-vis Israel, and criticizing Israel is not inherently anti-Semitic or anti-Jews. But then there are people who are anti-Semitic or anti-Jew who use their anti-Israel perspectives to hide that. And then there are people like Nick Fuentes who don't even bother pretending they're separating the two.
Something's up with Israel. Something's up with the Jews.
Israel and the Jews. About Israel and about Jewish influence.
About Israel and the Jews.
About Israel, about the Jews.
He's literally just out there saying it. And this guy truly, I cannot emphasize enough, it's like a rising star among Republicans, especially after Charlie Kirk's death.
Nick's been having a generational run. What does that mean?
It means I'm on a generational run. I'm making things happen. I'm blowing up.
Oh, yeah. He's your star is ascendant.
You know, the good thing about the anti-woke movement coming back is I don't have to pretend that I think vocal fry is not annoying because I'm a feminist or something. You know what I mean? Anyway, to cap off Nick Fuentes' generational run, it is very largely suspected and confirmed by at least Alex Jones that Nick Fuentes is about to go on Tucker Carlson's podcast. And I just want to put this in perspective for you. Tucker Carlson was the most important right-wing media figure in Trump 1. You know, back in 2016, he's on Fox News. He has the highest rated cable show on TV. He's Tucker Carlson, Fox News man, shill for Israel no matter the fuck what. And now, yes, Tucker has kind of left the mainstream a little bit, but is arguably potentially even more popular than he was then. Certainly is no less relevant. He is having on Nick Fuentes, not simply because he's a free speech advocate who just, feels it's important to have conversations with people with different views or whatever bullshit he'll spin it on. No, it's because he'll get views, but also it's because their politics are starting to align more than Tucker with, I don't know, say a Fox News, a Ted Cruz, the corporate vision of what the Republican Party is. And while I think it is an oversimplification, perhaps, to suggest that we got this ceasefire now in this moment, or certainly to suggest that the ceasefire is necessarily going to last because of the shift that Nick and Tucker and folks like them represent, it would also be utterly naive to think that they didn't play a large role in this. Sure, the Trump administration's policy is still unbelievably pro-Israel, but the cracks are appearing. And so there is something very bittersweet about this, because these cracks aren't coming from a place of deciding it's wrong for the United States to send billions of dollars and weapons to Israel, a country that is demonstrably committing war crimes. Because there's less Islamophobia on the right now, and they've realized they went too far in their posture of demonizing Islam and Muslims as this tremendous threat to the West and to America. No, that may all be the smokescreen claims. But a good portion of this is coming from the idea that actually maybe there's a different minority group that poses an even greater threat to white statehood than Islam.
Matt Walsh is calling out the Muslim sheriff of like Dearborn, Michigan. It's like, hey, how about calling out like the Jewish leaders of everything?
I'm glad we got a ceasefire. I hope it holds. But I don't love that the pressure from the right-wing flank is coming from a bunch of people following this guy. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, I would love if you would consider sharing it with somebody else who you think might enjoy it, or subscribing to the channel.